Hello, everyone. Today we will read Anansi and Vulture and review the lesson plan in the next video. And my name is Shauna and my students are Sally and Jingran. And at this time, please make sure the subtitles are turned on if you need help to follow along. And also remember, you can slow down the video speed or pause the video and go back. So the themes in the story today are karma, jealousy, and conflict resolution. And the story addresses social emotional concepts of understanding one's actions, emotion regulation, and respecting others. So before we begin the story, we will review some vocabulary words, and I will say the word, and then my students will repeat back. So are you ready to get started? All right. Fruit.
Fruit.
Vegetables.
Vegetables.
Maize.
Maize.
Basket.
Basket.
Money.
Money.
Rain.
Rain.
Good job. So now we're going to practice the vocabulary a little bit more by playing a game. So this game is called Picture Reveal. So behind this box is a picture of one of the vocabulary word photos. So all those photos we just showed you, it's going to be one of these. And I will slowly start to move the box out of the way, and you will slowly start to see the vocabulary word picture. When you think you know what it is, you can try to guess the word. So we'll try one practice and then we'll do one official one. Are you ready? Okay, so as soon as you know it, you can shout it out. Anybody?
Maize.
Yeah, good job, Jayman. It's maize. Ta-da! Good. Okay, so let's try one more practice or one more word. All right, here we go. Anybody?
Rain.
Rain, good job. So, with time, you would go through all of the words and slowly show your students, but it becomes a fun game. All right, so good job practicing the vocabulary. And now we're going to do a bridge activity. So on the other side of the imaginary bridge is the beginning of our story. But before we cross the bridge, we will do a short activity to get excited and think about one of the main ideas in the story. So I want you to think about a time you had a clever idea. Now, I want you to think about whether it was a positive or negative clever idea. Clever ideas can be both positive or negative. And clever ideas, for example, can help solve problems, which would be an example of a positive clever idea. Or clever ideas can harm or trick someone else, which would be an example of a negative clever idea. So does anyone have any examples they would like to share? And when you tell us your example, make sure to tell us whether it's positive or negative. Yeah.
I remember when my husband wanted a special jacket. So we ordered it for him for Christmas. And I put it in a closet, not in the coat closet. I figured he'd never find it. Well, I was down at the hospital overnight with my daughter who was having surgery, and he came down to visit. And guess what he was wearing? The clever, we're recording this. The clever idea. didn't work after all. So that you get to cut that piece, or you can leave it in if the case may be.
Oh, I think it's perfect. You're telling us about your clever idea trying to trick him. He must have heard you. And so
Yeah.
he came. He seems pretty clever too. Jingren, did you have an example of sorry, going back, Sally, was that you think like a positive, clever idea? It seems like maybe it was because you're trying to hide a present, a
Yeah,
gift
it
for
was
someone.
positive. I was a bit annoyed that he found it, however. No surprise.
Yeah.
The first example came into my mind is not my clever idea, but it's a clever idea of my friend when he's in the class with his students. And I remember that their students are basically quite silent and they don't want to talk a lot and they feel timid and also nervous. And one day he led all the students outside this classroom because we were in a countryside and there were mountains and rivers. They had a beautiful viewpoints, and they just asked them to do nothing but shouting out no matter what. And after they released themselves, then when they come back to the classroom again, they were more energetic and felt ready for the class. So I remember that as an example of a quite clever idea as a teacher.
Yeah, I like that idea. You know, the students had so much energy. So you just send them outside to let them scream for a minute and hopefully it gets all that energy out. That's a really clever idea. All right, so now we are going to read our story that has a clever idea in it. Do you think it will be a positive or a negative clever idea? Just guess.
I'm wondering if it's positive.
Maybe a positive one? Yeah, so be thinking and paying attention as we read our story to start to understand whether it's going to be positive or negative and in what ways it's a clever idea. So now we're going to cross the imaginary bridge and begin reading our story. So this story is called Anansi and Vulture. And take a look at the cover. What do you see?
I see people and animals.
Yep, people and animals.
I see the vulture.
Yep, here's the vulture right here.
Oh, and I see the maize in the basket on the ground.
Good job. Yep, maze and basket. Those are our vocabulary words. Who do you think is Anansi?
I guess it's a spider.
Maybe the spider. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because we know this is Vulture. Could be the spider. Could be these other people. We don't know just yet. How do you think all the characters are feeling? All the people and the animals. How do you think they're feeling in this picture? Look at their faces and their body language.
Are the arms out welcoming, or are they like, oh no, what's happened?
Yep, it could be either one. It could be saying welcome or, oh my goodness, what happened?
Yeah, they seem amazed because their eyes are wide and open. It feels like they're staring at something or they are surprised at something. I don't know.
Yeah, their eyes are pretty wide open. So it makes you wonder if they're surprised by something or if they're really serious trying to understand something. Yeah, it's a good note, a good observation. And what do you think will happen in this story? So we haven't read it yet. We don't know what it will be about, but just by looking at this cover page, Can you make any guesses about what it might be about?
Maybe a problem between the spider and the vulture?
Yep, maybe there's a problem between the spider and the vulture.
Maybe the man in the middle is giving a mission to them and they will have a competition for the maze.
Yeah, maybe he's giving them like a competition or an assignment about the maze, and then they're gonna have to follow his orders and whatever the task is. Yeah, those are some really good guesses. I'm excited to read the story and find out what happens. All right, here we go. Anansi the spider and Rabbit were friends. They lived in a peaceful village in the mountains. Rabbit owned a big farm with lots of vegetables and fruit. Even though Rabbit shared generously with his friend, Anansi was unhappy and jealous. So Anansi thought of a clever plan to take over Rabbit's farm. Soon, Rabbit was left poor and homeless. Anansi was the proud owner of all of Rabbit's land, vegetables, and fruit. Okay, let's pause here. Who are the characters so far?
The rabbit and the spider.
And what's the spider's name?
Anansi?
Yeah. And what is the setting? Look behind them. What's the setting of this story so far?
In a farm.
Yep, Rabbit's farm. And also on the first page, you can see all these mountains in the background.
Village.
Yeah, in the village, they said we're in the village. And what was Anansi's clever plan?
Take over the farm.
Yeah, how did he do that? What was the clever part about it?
Oh, he like drew or created a sign said no rabbit.
Yeah, there you go. You spotted it. He put up a sign that said no rabbits. It has a big slash through the middle on the fence. How do you think Rabbit feels about this? Look at his face. How do you think he feels? One ear is flopped. His face is in a frown.
I think he's really sad. They used to be friends.
Yeah. They used to be friends, and I would feel pretty sad too if someone stole my land and all my vegetables. So what do you think will happen next?
Maybe the rabbit looks for help from her friends or yeah.
Maybe the rabbit's gonna go seek help from his or her friends. Definitely, that's a possibility.
Or maybe come up with a clever idea to get his farm back.
Yeah, maybe Rabbit will think of a clever idea too to get his farm back. Those are some good guesses. Let's keep reading to find out what happens. Anansi went to the market to sell his fruits and vegetables. He made so much money that he filled a basket with it. With some of the money, he bought maize for his family and put it on top of the money in the basket. Anansi happily headed home with his basket on his head, singing. He was thinking about all the things he was going to buy with his money. On the way, it started to drizzle. Soon, the drizzle turned into a heavy downpour. Anansi the spider left his basket on the side of the road to shelter under a tree. But from there, he kept a close watch on his precious basket. It started to rain even more heavily, and Anansi was getting cold and wet. So he ran into a hole. I will stay in this hole until the rain stops, said Anansi to himself. At least my money is protected by the maize I put on top of it. So let's remember, how did Anansi make all of his money?
He stole the farm and took the crops to market.
Yeah, he sold them all at the market, right? All the money is underneath the maize. Do you think it's right that he sold all of Rabbit's fruits and vegetables?
No, because it's not his efforts that he gained the vegetables and fruits. These were the rabbits. The rabbit devotes the time and energy in growing them.
Exactly, yeah, it was the rabbit's fruits and vegetables. The rabbit spent so much time growing them and taking care of them. But Anansi just stole them and then sold it all and got the money for it. But then what happened to Anansi as he was walking home?
It started to rain, and then it rained harder,
Mm-hmm.
and he put the basket down.
Yep, so it started to rain, so he had to take shelter. So he's kind of hiding in this hole to not get so wet. But his basket's still sitting out here in the rain, covered by the maize. What do you think will happen next?
I think that something happened to the basket, and so finally the Anansi lost it.
Maybe something will happen to the basket and Nancy will lose it. Any other ideas?
Might it float away? Is it
Maybe.
sitting in a puddle?
Yeah, if it continues to rain really hard, maybe it'll just pick up and float away. All right, let's keep going. A little while later, Vulture was flying around and spotted the basket on the side of the road. He saw that there was money and maize in the basket. So he covered the basket with his wings and waited for the rain to stop. Anansi saw Vulture sitting on his basket. Oh, thank you, my friend, for protecting my basket, he said to the Vulture. Excuse me, Anansi? Did I hear you right? Asked Vulture. Your basket? This basket is mine. I found it here on the side of the road. Anansi could not believe his ears. It's mine, I tell you. Furious, Anansi went and reported the theft to the chief. But Vulture said to the chief and his elders, how could anyone leave a basket full of money and maize unguarded on the road? But I was watching my basket, said Anansi. It's my money and my maize. I was looking after the basket when you came and said it was yours, replied Vulture. Oof, they're going back and forth. So what happened when Anansi was hiding from the rain?
The vulture saw the money and thought, it's mine. It's here.
Yeah. And you kind of answered the next one too, but why does Vulture not want to give it back to Anansi?
Finders keepers.
Yeah, finders keepers. He said, I found it with nobody else around it. So I figured that nobody owned it and it was up for grabs. Who did they go to for help solving the problem?
The chief?
The chief, and then who are these two guys next to him?
And his elders.
And his elders, yeah. So the chief and the elders of the village are some sort of council. And so Anansi and Vulture went to this council for some help with the problem. How do you think the village elders will decide this matter? What do you think they will say?
maybe they each must have some, they must share.
Maybe they have to share it.
Maybe they will find out that the basket was, the money was made from the vegetables grown by rabbit. So then finally give it back to rabbit.
Maybe they'll find out that it's actually Rabbit's money from his fruit and vegetables that Anansi sold. Yeah, let's see how they decide. When the chief and his elders had listened carefully to both sides, they sent Anansi and Vulture away. They discussed the story for a long time. Eventually, they reached a decision. They summoned Anansi and Vulture again. We believe Vulture's story, they said. He is not the thief. You were trying to claim something that was not yours. Anansi could not believe his ears. He burst into tears. The news soon spread through that the judgment had gone against Anansi. As he walked away, he heard Rabbit laughing and laughing. Rabbit went back to his farm and grew fruit and vegetables. But Anansi was poor again with no friends. So what did the village chief and elders decide?
They
That the
decide
vulture
to,
could have.
Yep, that Vulture can have it, the money and the maize. And how did Anansi feel about this judgment?
sad, angry, and he might feel unfair.
Yeah, he's really upset. But if he's really upset, then why do you think Rabbit's laughing?
Because Anansi did not get away with stealing. Well, he stole from Rabbit, but he didn't get to keep what he had stolen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like karma, right? At the beginning, Anansi was so jealous of Rabbit. So he stole the basket, sold all the fruits and vegetables, and made all the money. And then just like that, it got taken from him too. So Rabbit's probably laughing, saying, ha, now you know how it feels. Yeah, so it's kind of a little clever story like that. So before we read the story, we thought that maybe it was going to be some sort of competition or task that Anansi and Vulture were going to be competing for. But let's review what actually happened. So who are all the characters in this story?
Rabbit,
Vulture,
I think I
and-
heard Sally said Anansi.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and the
Vulture.
chief and the elders.
Yeah, and the chief and the elders. And what was the setting of the story? Where did it all take place?
and the farm, the countryside.
Yeah, maybe the countryside. There was the farm. What else was described? What other places?
The chief's yard.
Yeah, in the village where the chief lived, in his yard.
The path home.
The path home. There's another one I'm thinking of. How did Nancy make all his money?
The market.
He went to the market to sell all the fruits and vegetables. And so what did Anansi do at the very beginning?
He stole the rabbit's farm by coming up with a clever idea of putting a no rabbit sign on the farm.
Yeah, and then after he put that sign up, he took all the fruits and vegetables to the market to sell them. And on his way home, it started to rain. And what happened when it started to rain?
He sought cover and left the basket on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm. And what happened to the basket? Did it float away?
No, it was there, but the
Vulture.
vulture saw it.
Yeah, the vulture saw it and decided it was left all alone so he could take it. And then we know that the vulture and Anansi took this matter to the village chief and elders. Do you remember how they decided?
They decided to believe Vulture and give the basket to Vulture.
Yeah. And do you agree with this decision?
I don't know their justifications, so I also wonder why they decide to believe Vulture.
Yeah, it doesn't really say why they decided that.
And I wonder if they knew that Vulture had stolen Rabbit's land, if it was in the same village. So maybe they were punishing Anansi.
Yeah. Maybe they knew that it was rabbits and that Anansi had taken it. Do you think Anansi deserved the judgment?
Kind of. Sort of.
Sort of, yeah. Why do you think sort of?
Well, he had stolen Rabbit's farm, and he did make all of the money without doing any of the work. So he really didn't deserve the money or the profits.
But on the other hand, Anansi was also selling all the fruit and vegetables. So I think he kind of made some efforts in the business, but it's just, yeah, it was not, he's stealing at first. That is not good.
Yeah. But then I'm also sort of too like Sally because he did steal it in the first place, but also at the end, then he had something stolen from him. So then at the end, he's still left sad and unhappy. So I feel a little bad for him because he's back to being unhappy like he was in the beginning. Is there anything that Anansi could have done differently in the beginning?
Yeah, I think it will be an idea to let both cooperate for like to try to convince Rabbit that you can grow really good vegetables and fruit, but I can sell better than you, so we can cooperate and then make it a profit.
Yeah, they could share the profit, right? They could each do one part that they're good at. Rabbit's good at growing the fruits and vegetables, and Nancy seems pretty good at selling it, so they'd make a good team. And what did you learn from this story?
Sometimes if you do something wrong, sometimes you get punished for your behavior. But I really like Shingren's solution and yours of cooperation.
Yeah. Yeah, we learned that there's better ways of working together and that there's usually consequences. Great. So now we'll think about some wondering questions. And then remember, when we wonder about a story, we share our feelings or our ideas. So there's no right or wrong answers. I wonder if there's a part of the story that you liked, and I wonder why you liked that page.
I guess I, in a way, liked the elders saying to Anansi, you know what, Vulture found this, and kind of he did punished him for doing what he had done to Rabbit. But it doesn't really feel right, like a solution that I would like.
You liked this page when the elders told him that you were trying to claim something that was not yours. And it felt like they were giving Anansi a message.
I liked the last page where Anansi got back to the same place with the rabbit, and feeling the same with the rabbit in the previous page at the beginning. That at first it was rabbit who feels sad and everything was so unfair, but in the last, the Anansi felt the same, that he's sad and he felt so unfair. It's unfair. It's an unfair decision, but it is he who begins it. So it's like a loop, a circle.
Yeah. You like the end when it kind of came full circle. And Anansi was upset again at the end after his own actions. Yeah. Both of those are really great and interesting parts of the story. And I liked them as well. I wonder if you saw yourself in the story. I wonder if you've ever been in a situation similar to the rabbits, or similar to Anansi's, or the vultures. So we know Rabbit had something taken away from him, and Anansi had also had something taken away from him. And then the vulture took something away from somebody else.
Yeah, one time there was some really good pastry, and my husband ate it, and I was like, I was gonna have that for my snack, and it's gone. And he said, you didn't claim it, did you? Did you put your name on it?
So you felt a little similar to maybe Rabbit and Anansi that had something taken away from them. I wonder if you've ever been jealous of someone else before. Remember at the beginning when Rabbit was growing all of his fruits and vegetables, and Anansi was so jealous that he was so successful. And so I wonder if you've ever been jealous of someone before. And I wonder how you responded in that situation. And I wonder if you would respond any differently now. So we know from the beginning that Anansi was jealous of Rabbit, and he responded by stealing Rabbit's land. I want you to think of a time that maybe this happened to you. And I wonder how you responded.
I remember that I like in my middle school, I had a friend who got really good grades in exams, and I was jealous of her. And but I didn't realize that it was jealousy. And then sometimes I just fought with her, argued with her unconsciously, and I just got every time I got excuses to fight with her. So, but then I realized, yeah, maybe it's just jealous. And I think the better way is because she deserved it because maybe she worked hard. So rather than be jealous of her, it's better that I take my efforts. I focus more on my study and to do my best rather than to just to fight with her because it's not her fault, but I can do something by myself to be better.
Yeah, so you were jealous of a classmate who had gotten some good grades, but maybe instead of arguing with her, you think it would have been better to focus on yourself and concentrate maybe to get your own better grades.
Yeah, and I think it also relates to this story that Anansi, rather than he took the vegetables or argue with rabbit, he can learn by himself or by asking from rabbits to ask his advice so that he can better his skills in growing vegetables and fruit.
Okay, there's no other answers. We can move on to our last activity. Thank you all for answering these wondering questions. They were very interesting. And so now we will work together as a class to rewrite the story. So I will read page 1 again, and then we will decide what happens next. And I will write everyone's ideas down as you're sharing them. And after we have the ideas, then we'll choose one all together about what is next. And then we will continue to do this until the story comes to an end. So we're going to have to work together and share ideas. So the first page is this one right here. Anansi the spider and rabbit were friends. They lived in a peaceful village in the mountains. Rabbit owned a big farm with lots of vegetables and fruit. Even though Rabbit shared generously with his friend, Anansi was unhappy and jealous. What happens next?
Anansi asked Rabbit, how did you do that? How is it possible that you can make such delicious fruit and vegetables?
Sally, did you have a different idea?
No, I like that idea.
You like this one? Okay, great. So we have Anansi was unhappy and jealous. And then Anansi decides to ask Rabbit how he grew such delicious fruits and vegetables. What happens next?
Maybe Anansi could say to Rabbit, can you teach me to grow vegetables like you do and fruit?
Chingran, any other ideas, or did you like what Sally added to the story?
Yeah.
All right. So after he asks Rabbit to teach him, what happens?
Anansi tries, but he's not really successful. Maybe he doesn't work as hard, or he didn't listen carefully, or he just doesn't have a green foot like Rabbit does.
Yeah, I like this one.
Maybe let's think of one more idea since I'm running out of space.
And so Anansi got frustrated, but Rabbit comforted him that it's normal that at the beginning I did the same. I was not so skillful at first. So maybe we can work together, like I don't know, in somehow like I'm not an expert in that, but maybe they can work differently, that Rabbit finds Anansi's talent in some way, and and in somehow that they cooperate really well.
Maybe Rabbit recognizes that Anansi is really good at selling things better than the rabbit does. So maybe Rabbit would suggest that Anansi can go to market to sell the fruits and vegetables for him.
Anything else we need to add to the end of our story? I can make some space here if we need it.
Oh, and then one day, Vulture passed the market and saw, wow, so great, such great fruit and vegetables, and he wants to join as well.
I love it. Oh, that's awesome. All right, let's read our story. So we have, even though Rabbit shared generously with his friend, Anansi was unhappy and jealous. Anansi asked Rabbit how he grew such delicious fruits and vegetables. Anansi then asked Rabbit to teach him how to grow fruits and vegetables just like him. Anansi tries to grow fruits and vegetables, but he's not as successful. So Rabbit comforts Anansi and tells him it's okay. And Rabbit offers to work together with Anansi. And he asks if Anansi can go to the market to sell the fruits and vegetables for him. And then Vulture passed the market and wants to join the team as well. I like that story. It's a great story of teamwork, just like we had teamwork to create our story. That's so awesome. All right, so with that, that's the end of our read aloud demonstration. And please feel free to watch our next skills development video for the lesson plan that corresponds with this storybook. Thank you.